Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
That's what you need. We got your phones coming your way.
Good evening, and welcome to the April's meeting of the Florence School District 5 Board of Trustees. We'd like to thank you all for coming out. And if you would, stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Goldberg.
Yes.
Do you have a little something for us?
Absolutely.
Father God, we just thank you tonight that we can come together to do your work here in Florence School District 5. God, we thank you for the talents and the gifts that you've given our students and our teachers and our family and our community, God. And God, we just rejoice in the great things that are happening in Florence 5. God, we thank you for a great 3 quarters of this school year, and we just pray that you'll continue to bless us as we finish out this 4th quarter. God, be with our students in the days ahead as they do state testing. God, give them clear minds that they may focus and concentrate, and give them wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to do their best on the test. God, prepare our teachers to help them as we finish out these last few days, and we give you all the glory and honor in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. In accordance with the South Carolina Code of Laws, 1976, Section 30-40-80E as amended, the following were notified of this meeting: Morning News, Post and Courier, WBTW, WMBF, WPDE-TV, and posted on our website, www.fsd5.org. Now we'll go to our approval of agenda. Has everybody had a chance to look? Good to go? Public forum? See none? So we'll move right into our consent agenda. Does anybody have any questions? If not, we'll move right along.
Okay.
We'll go to our regular agenda and we'll start with our superintendent's report.
Okay. I think first up is operations.
Okay, we'll start with technology. The 86-inch Samsung interactive panels were installed over spring break. The teachers will receive training from Samsung prior to the start of the school year in July. The feedback from the teachers has been very positive. They like the boards. Ms. Burrs, I think you can attest to that.
They love them.
Well, they love them. That's even
Students do
better. Even better. Big technology project right now also is migrating from Enrich IEP to SC Ed Plan for special services. That's a big software migration that the state is pushing. The contract ended with Enrich. So years and years and years of data has to be migrated and moved to another system. And it's been a lot of work put in so far for that. Hopefully it'll be a smooth migration. Student registration for school year 24-25. Worked on that some more today. We anticipate opening registration for the 24-25 school year on May the 1st. So that's going to give parents a full 3 months-ish to get registered this year. I think that's going to work out well. And for the first time, interim reports tomorrow will be sent out via email. We're not printing and mailing anymore. If a parent or guardian does need a printed copy, they can call the school, and the school will still print those copies.
So you won't have like a certain week or a certain 2 days to register. It's gonna be like 3 months, it's gonna be opened.
Yes, ma'am.
At
It's
your
gonna be
own.
open at your own, kind of like we did last year. We started at the beginning of July. We couldn't open it early last year due to some changes with the 5th grade move-in at the middle school. But from now on, yeah, May timeframe is kind of what we're shooting for, to give as much possible time for parents to get that done.
For the intern reports, does every parent have a working email address to
They
get
do.
those?
They have to have a working email address to register their kids. So
Gotcha.
I'll say they do. There may have been a few that came in and manually registered. Here again, if they don't have one, we'll make sure that those parents get it. But moving forward, when they go to register this year, if they had a 4K kid this year, they may not have a Power School Parent Portal account, which means we may not necessarily have their email address on file, but we should. So, well, Cindy, what you said,
We've
Pretty
set
much.
up several today. We sent a dojo home this morning
Okay.
to let them know, and then we had several parents who called the office, and we just set them up so they would have it tomorrow.
So the teachers won't, in the past, usually they send, especially report card time, the teachers will send it out and it has to come back signed. They just not doing that anymore.
I mean, they won't obviously have a physical copy signed. Principals, how do y'all
This
wanna
will be
handle that?
confirmation that they've received it when, everybody, all of ours are gonna go out tomorrow about 11.
Okay.
And I think I saw that yours are going about 7. So we'll send them, and so they'll know that they went home, but parents are welcome to call the school at any time. And we can give them a printed copy if they'd like.
Yeah, we're not, it's fairly common now for districts to do that. We're just kinda late to the game on that. Any more questions on that? Okay. Safety and security updates, the South Carolina Safer Schools Grant projects. The district-wide door lock replacement project is underway. The final walkthrough with A3 Communications was last week. Project should begin in the coming weeks. They've placed the order. It takes a few weeks for all that stuff to come in. That will be completed this summer. The TOPS SVPP grant, A3 is doing a lot of that as well, so they'll be doing the cameras at the athletic fields, district office access control, and the additional Shea open gate weapons detectors will be ordered. That's just a small piece of the COPS grant, but I'm trying not to bite too much of it off at one time. We do have 3 years to complete that. Ours will be done well within that, but just trying not to overburden ourselves on that.
How many additional weapons detectors are we getting?
Tentatively 5.
Okay.
They did a pricing change here recently. I'm kind of going back and forth with them on being able to still get that original 5, but it's looking like it's gonna be the 5 that I asked for. The Valcom paging intercom upgrade for the elementary and middle schools, the final walkthrough for that is this Friday. Some of the cabling's already been pulled for that, so that project's actually a little ahead of schedule. All schools will also implement a clear book bag policy for students for next school year. JMS and JHS will implement use of weapons detectors during arrival for students and visitors. And JES will implement the use of weapons detectors for visitors. And that'll all, again, that's starting next school year.
I noticed that the other games that we're going to, they're slacking off on doing that.
At our games?
Huh? Like Pamplico and different places like that.
Yeah.
A lot
I
of
feel
them
like
not
everybody
doing it
here's kind of
anymore.
gotten used to it.
Yeah.
And it goes pretty smoothly.
Do they have like really big clear book sacks?
So our whole
Because-
process is gonna have to change with the implementation of clear book bags. Principals have been working with their teachers to kind of get them in that mindset of, hey, kids don't need to take all their books home every day. They don't need to take all these, big 3-ring notebooks and all that. All of that, you'll see a change next year. A lot of our textbooks, and Brian can elaborate on this a little bit, a lot of our textbooks, I would say most of them are offered in a digital format as well. So the concept is get as much of that digital as possible, lighten the load in those book bags so that you can, have the clear book bags. Because with them being clear, they're not as durable as, your LL Bean book bag
No,
or
they certainly are not.
anything.
And they don't use lockers at the middle school, so where they're gonna keep their stuff if they don't bring it home? Will they leave it in a classroom, like with their binders or different things that they have?
The
that they don't-
teachers are gonna work with them so they don't have to have the big binders and have to take home a book for every class that they have.
We're trying to rethink how we wanna do things, so those books.
Like composition notebooks instead of the
Yeah,
spiral bound ones, just kind
that'll
of.
help with the
stuff
metal
like that.
detectors too, to not have those 3-ring binders.
Any more questions on that? Facilities update, this past Thursday, I issued RFPs for the track resurfacing as well as painting in all three schools. That's all part of the bond referendum projects. The budgetary numbers for the track resurfacing that we received just from one vendor, was much higher than anticipated. That was another push for me to put that vendor was on state contract, but I was like, you know what, let's put it out there, let's see some other opinions on that. Again, hopefully we'll have a better idea for that. The pre-bid meeting for the track resurfacing is this coming Tuesday. Pre-bid walkthrough for the painting is the following week. Both of those bids should be back. The track is due mid of May and the painting is due towards the end of May. So we'll have selections on those hopefully shortly after that.
Have we gotten any indication from the county, what kind of money they may?
I talked to Mr. Poston today and we still don't know anything.
And the next meeting of our facilities planning committee is this Wednesday. And now, Justin with Snyder is gonna do a little presentation on kind of where we are with the project with them.
Good evening, everybody. First off, thank you so much for the opportunity. We are very much looking forward to working with Florence 5 and really look forward to extending this initiative beyond just an infrastructure project. We really see this as a long-term partnership, so we're very excited to be working here with the facilities, the administration, and the students, as you'll see right here. So first and foremost, one of the best parts of this so far from our perspective has been the ability to have some of the students shadow during our engineering audits. So you'll see a picture here. This is Jordan Miguez on the left. He's the lead project development engineer that was designing all the individual solutions. So that was one component of it. We also had, I'm not sure which slides made it into this slide deck here, but we also had some photos of some of the students that were involved in a marketing campaign actually sitting in you all's chairs presenting to the administration. There were teams of, it was anywhere from I think 1 to 4 students that were sitting together. They created groups and they were broadcasting their marketing plans for generating funds from the community to hopefully be able to lobby them to contribute for the potential to fund a Jumbotron in the future. That is an ongoing initiative, and they're working with our professional marketing team to develop various ideas to be able to bring those to local organizations that may be able to actually participate in funding those and sponsoring different things. So that is just one of the ongoing initiatives that we're working on right now. Also, you may have noticed the new logos that are going around. That was a part of our marketing campaign as well. So we're very proud to be bringing some of these changes that ultimately just reflect the refresh that we intend on bringing to your facilities as well. This is a high-level overview of what we're calling a phase 1 approach. The reason why we're calling it a phase 1 approach is we did pull some priority scope into this first portion, mainly based on the timeline associated with that athletic lighting. We wanted to make sure that you all have those brand new lights in place for game 1, week 1 of the football season. So we are going to be able to do that with an OSF approved solution. We're very excited about that. Part of that is some songs that are preloaded in here, so they'll actually will flash to pre-selected and preloaded songs associated with the game there. So excited about that. New VoIP phones are coming to the district as well. That's a district-wide solution. Ultimately, it's going to be new phones everywhere. Those phones have additional safety and communication capabilities, including, I heard some conversation as I was sitting here about some challenges with communication. So this is actually going to give everybody in the district the ability to communicate from their desk phone through a software app. So it's an app you can download. This solution has been tested through the IT department extensively. They got hands-on with some of the phones and demoed some of the capabilities and features and functionality of those phones. We're very excited to roll that out. The best part of those phones is they save you over $10,000 a year in your phone bill. So new phones paired with actual savings associated with your phone bills. Very excited about that as well. The weatherization scope has to do with actually sealing the exterior of the building. So that's anything like a roof to wall seam. These are things that you don't typically think about, but when you add up all these little gaps in the windows and the doors and the roof to wall seams, you put that all together, the actual square footage sometimes can equate to leaving a garage door wide open in the building. That's how much air is being transferred from the outside to the inside. Really makes your HVAC systems operate more efficient as well, because everything is buttoned up, so you're only conditioning the space that's actually inside of the building. Makes the building more comfortable, and makes just everybody more comfortable, more efficient as far as operating those systems for the long term. Also very excited to be bringing a facelift to some of the 70s or 80s era windows that are currently at the high school, and replacing those with some updated windows as well, with some new energy efficient windows, which obviously have benefits associated with aesthetics, but make the building more comfortable and operate more efficiently as well. And then I already discussed some of the marketing engagement, student engagement activities that we've brought. I'll go ahead and pause there, see if you all have any questions right now.
I do.
Yes, sir.
Couple questions.
Okay.
I understand the sealing of gaps and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
In relation to the HVAC equipment, I assume that y'all have looked at that to make sure it's got sufficient makeup air in the HVAC equipment, so we don't run into any kind of sick building syndrome scenarios. Enough fresh air into the buildings.
Yeah, absolutely. So part of our, what we're calling our phase 2 scope, we hope to implement, we'll see kind of how phase 1 goes first, but our goal is to be able to implement a new building automation system, which would bring the fresh air up to current building codes, make sure that that is all accurate. But making sure the building is operating efficiently and everything is sealed up is the ideal first step in that process anyways.
Okay, next question, the windows.
Yes, sir.
I was looking at, Adam shared with me the specs on the windows.
Mhm.
The U values on them, says ranges from 0.33 to 0.55 is the U value on those windows. And the 2009 International Energy Conservation Code for South Carolina requires 0.65 for a U value,
For the U value or the R
for
value?
the U value.
Okay, ultraviolet value?
And U value is basically the inverse of what the R value is.
Okay,
So I'd just like for you all to check into that, make sure that what we're putting in meets the Energy Conservation Code. That's in
Yeah,
place.
so everything is being looked at through OSF.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that code is that you're referencing. We're going off a 2021 building code in South Carolina, so that's I
That's
think
the
most
building
recent.
code, but there's an Energy Conservation Code, which
Okay.
governs heating and air, lighting, use of the energy for those pieces of the equipment, plus the envelope requirements for R values, solar
Yeah.
heat gain coefficients,
Right.
U values for doors, windows, anything like that.
Okay.
The other thing in regards to the windows too is, I know the ones that we've got now are operable windows.
Mhm.
The building's not sprinklered, and I don't know this for certain, but in the past, the reason they were operable, when a building wasn't sprinklered, it provided a second means of egress. It was emergency egress
Mhm.
for the classrooms.
Yeah.
Just wanna make sure that we're taking that into consideration as well.
Sure, and so to go back to your U value question, I'll definitely run that by our energy engineer and make sure.
Obviously, the new ones are gonna be better than what we have.
They should be, I
But-
mean, significantly better and I mean, our entire goal here is to help
Sure.
you all save energy, so
Yeah.
I would be shocked if, for whatever reason, the selection was below any sort of standard. Typically, we're aiming to be significantly above those standards, but I will double check on that for you, and just verify. Regarding the operability of those, they actually are the crank out windows.
Yeah.
But those classrooms, and this is something that we have documented by OSF, are not currently technically egress, which is why they're not marked as egress windows.
Okay.
So that is something we verified with OSF just to make sure on that
I
as
just
well.
wanna confirm, I know there was circumstances where if the buildings weren't sprinkled, you had to provide that second means of
Mhm.
emergency escape and egress, and they were the basically casement windows.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
So-
So you do have operability. I will say they're not technically designed to be egress windows because of the fact that it has to do with the proximity to an emergency exit from the classroom and the size of the classrooms as well. So for that reason, they're not designed to be egress windows, but they are operable crank out windows.
Okay.
And again, that is all currently documented. We have it's called Procore. It's a project management software where we document all of the drawings, the designs, the OSF approvals, all sorts of different things. And you guys will have full access to all the documents within that, which will also show the lighting for the stadium as well. That's actually OSF approved also, because it's got battery backups in the case of a power outage.
Yeah.
You don't want people like tripping their way off of bleachers or anything, so the stadium or stand lighting will actually be battery backup as well.
Okay. Thank you.
No other questions?
No.
Okay, good deal. This is kind of another way of viewing the phase one project and all of the things that we were looking at. Again, with the program, it's kind of a visual representation of everything that I just mentioned. Here's the timeline. So we are having our final internal project management discussion tomorrow. And then I'll be reaching out in early May to schedule a formal construction kickoff meeting where I'll go ahead and introduce our project manager for this project and kind of lay out our specific plan going forward. Again, that's where we'll give you all access to Procore software so that you can get in and see exactly where we are. That will show work completed in the past 2 weeks and then work being completed in the next 2 weeks, so you all have a really good understanding of exactly what's happened and what will be happening, as well as before and after pictures, all of the documentation associated with OSF and all those different sorts of things. So really great tool to be able to kind of keep tabs on what's going on within the facilities, and then I'm also available for any board updates that you might request along the way as well. And then also, we are hoping to be able to have a shadowing associated with some more students interested in potentially construction management positions down the road, so we can have them shadow our project manager as they're kind of organizing different subcontractors, working through some of the requirements associated with that. So it's another opportunity for student engagement there. So we'll work with the administration to select some students that might be particularly interested in that career path. Right now, I've got June as a potential development kickoff for phase two. I think in your packet there, you've got some of the different things that we're planning on looking at for phase two. That really kind of is not set in stone at this point. That's up for discussion on when that happens. The main thing that I was really interested in, there are some grants coming up in June that are, well, there's always grants coming up. We have a grant writer on staff that can help kind of identify some of these grants that may qualify for some of the scope that we could potentially be looking at. So good opportunity to potentially capture some of those grants, or at least get some applications in, should we be on this timeline. Otherwise, not looking at the phase two, we will be kicking off construction again May, going through the summer, so that you all have the football lights in place for that first game in August. And then progressing through the rest of the construction after that. I think that's my last slide. Any other questions?
Not a question.
Okay.
The U value is better than what's required. What you guys are proposing is better than what's required.
Oh, perfect. That's what I assumed.
I went backwards, yeah, okay.
I hate to say it, I always get confused with the R values and U values.
Yeah.
U values, lower numbers better, R
Yeah.
values, higher numbers better.
Yeah, I would have been shocked if there is a guarantee tied to all of the energy that we're saving you as well. So our goal is typically to try and
Yeah.
help you achieve more savings than what we're guaranteeing. Ultimately, we cut you a check if you don't see the savings that we're guaranteeing, and we don't like doing that. We'd rather build you a better solution.
Let me add something real quick. That document that Frank has that he's passing around, we had to make some tweaks to that, so everything that's showing on that particular document for phase two may or may not actually be phase two. we cut everything from the elementary school out of phase one that shows in there. So if y'all need a more specific kind of concept, I can send that to you. We'll make sure Robin gets that out to all of you.
Do this. All right, I'll pass on the phone.
You see it?
Good evening, everybody. I put you a handout on your table because I figured that might be a little bit small to read from the screen. So to help you out, I did give you a handout tonight with the same information on there. And this information is our iReady data for the spring. We are probably over 95% complete with our iReady testing. There are a few students that still have some makeups to do. But I just wanted to highlight a few things tonight. I won't go 30 minutes. That Adam thinks I'm going. But I could talk a long time about data as you keep peeling the layers back, but I did want to highlight a few things. One thing I wanted to highlight is if you look through our goal every year from fall to spring is to make the red smaller and the green bigger. Because green, of course, is grade level. Red, of course, is multiple grade levels behind. The yellow is one grade level behind, and we want it smaller too. And in every grade level, every subject area, ELA and math, we accomplished that goal. We made the red smaller and the green bigger. And all but one grade level, we made it double-digit increase, green bigger, and a double-digit decrease, red smaller, as I said, in all but one grade level. So we have seen some great growth by our students. As we've said every time I've come, I've been in classroom, I've seen how much the teachers have been working, how hard the students have been working, and we're seeing that growth. Now with that, as I mentioned in the winter, our challenge is making up for the summer slide that we've seen. And that's where for some grade levels, we've made up that summer slide, and we're better than projected than where we were last year. And then for some grade levels, we still have a little bit of work to do before state testing. So just to kind of go over to look, you see in the below the pyramids, I guess you see some data and you see some different colors. And for instance, for third grade, you see two yellows, and what they are is that is what the third grade students last year scored. Last year on MAP, the third grade students, they scored 43% projected proficiency, and then when they actually took the SC Ready, they scored 63%. The difficulty with MAP and with iReady on the formative assessments is both test reading. The writing part really isn't tested, so we can't get an exact pinpoint of what the projection is because there's no writing part, which SC Ready does have in the writing. And then if you look beside it, the red, that is what the current third grade students, what they scored on their spring iReady. That's what the projection is for those. So if you notice, that's a little bit lower than what last year's third grade scored. But if you look at last year's third grade projection, the projection for this year is pretty much at the same spot. So what we're hoping is that the growth from writing will help bring our third grade students to the same growth that they had when they took SC Ready. Now again, each time you have a grade level, each grade level is different. Some grade levels are stronger than others. So really right now, third grade is our toughest one to pinpoint. We do a lot of hoping and praying for third grade because we really don't have anything to compare them to because they've never taken SC Ready before. If you compare that third grade to what they made on MAP last year on MAP only 18% were projected proficiency, where this year 46% are projected proficiency. But we're comparing apples to oranges, MAP to iReady. So that's a little bit more difficult to compare. But as you go through the other grade levels, and I won't go through every one, I'll kind of let you look at that. And if you have any questions, you can shoot me an email or shoot Ms. Prosser an email and I'll get you an answer. But for the fourth grade, if you look, you've got two green, that's what last year's fourth grade did. And then you've got the yellow, that's what the current fourth grade did. That same yellow coincides vertically with the third grade from last year. So you can kind of see last year, in SC Ready reading, those students scored 63%. Right now, they're close. They're at 58% projection. So we know we've still got a little bit of time. We're a few percentage points off. So we're hoping that we're going to be able to close that gap by the time that SC Ready comes. But again, we don't have we don't have writing incorporated into this. Math's a little bit easier to compare, except for the reading. So if you go through in most areas, especially, I want to highlight a few. If you look in 5th grade, both ELA and math, their academic achievement, comparing last year's grade level to this year's grade level, the academic achievement piece is the same or greater, but the student growth has gone up 5% if you compare where they scored on SC Ready last year to where they're projecting this year. We're seeing growth there. Seeing that same growth in 6th grade reading, seeing a similar growth in 7th grade, kind of maintaining 7th grade reading, but one I really want to highlight is 7th grade math. The academic achievement in 7th grade math, those students scored 17% projected proficiency last year, or proficiency, not projected. They scored 17% proficiency last year on SC Reading when they were in 6th grade. We knew that we had to do something for those students coming into 7th grade. So after some begging and asking, Mr. Randy Willis and Miss Kayla Bellflowers, Miss Bellflowers looped with her students. Mr. Randy Willis came in and helped provide some extra support. In 7th grade science, there's a 16% increase in academic achievement and a 20% increase in student growth for those students. So that kind of showed us that one thing that we were debating is the need for more instructional time in our math classrooms. We've always increased instructional time in ELA, but we never really did it for math. Well, this year when we did that in 7th grade, we did that and we saw dramatic improvement and dramatic increases, the biggest increases of all of our grade levels and content areas there. So I know Ms. Squires is looking at that and they're planning to see what they can do to continue and increase in mathematics instruction in all grade levels. And then another one highlighting 8th grade reading. There's a 6% increase in the academic achievement and an 11% increase in student growth. So as you look through each one, you'll be able to kind of compare where they were last year, where they're projecting this year, and a thing to keep in mind with ELA, we're already projecting higher in some areas than we were in ELA last year, and we're hoping and praying that that writing portion will take us even higher. Because for the last 3 years, in reading and writing at the middle school level, we've seen a 10% increase in ELA on our SC Ready scores, and right now we're projecting for another 10% increase. So those are some great gains that we're seeing in grades 5 through 8 there, and we want to hopefully continue to see those gains. Math is the area, though, we know that we've been struggling in, and that's where we've been making some of those changes, increasing that instructional time, even though some of the other grade levels may not have had as much instructional time as 7th grade had, but both at 3rd grade, 4th grade, and the other grade levels at the middle school, we have done things to try to increase that instructional time, to increase that math exposure, even having some of our other content area teachers giving up some of their time that aren't tested to be able to expose their students to math. So we're hoping to see the gains there. But as we look at this, principals are taking this data back with even more layers peeled back that iReady gives them, and they're identifying concept weaknesses to find out what areas that the teachers or the teachers may not have taught yet or gotten to thoroughly, that they had to kind of rush, finding those areas of concept weaknesses, and then they're going to begin spiraling back and doing reviews to fill in those gaps. They're also identifying bubble kids that are kind of right on that level, where one grade level behind, almost on grade level, identifying those students and providing differentiation and small group instruction for those students so that we can hopefully push them by the time we get to SC Ready over that bubble so that those students will be scoring met or above also. So they're working hard. They're not stopping. Ms. Squires and I were looking at it, talking about data today, talking about plans on what they can do, meetings she's going to be having with her teachers. Some she's probably already started having with teachers so that we can make sure that we identify those concept areas and then also those areas for the bubble kids that we need to work on. Any questions on iReady projections? Again, these are just projections. There's probably, based on what iReady says, a 5% standard deviation one way or the other. Of course, projections are just that, projections. But what we've seen in the past is usually we score a little bit better in ELA than what iReady shows. And usually for the math, we're pretty close. The projections that we've had the last couple of years, with iReady Math, all but like one grade level last year. They were pretty spot on. So we're hoping that we see that same growth that we saw last year from iReady Math to state testing. Any questions there? All right. Just kind of looking at the things that we can kind of project. High school is a little bit more difficult with testing because EOC testing, they take the course and then they take the test. We don't really have any formative assessments in place to kind of see what those projections are, but the one thing we can project is grad rate and CCR. Right now we have 87 students in our graduating cohort. 71% of those 87 students are actually still on campus at Johnsonville High School right now. 64 are on track to graduate. 3 have already graduated early, but those aren't on campus in that 71. 4 are credentialed students, and what credentialed students are, those are special education students that are not on a diploma track, but there's a new program that the state offers to where they can get a high school credential. It's not a diploma, it doesn't count for grad rate, but it does give them a credential that they can have if they do go seek employment, and it's something more than just a certificate of attendance. We have currently 3 that are not on track to graduate, and unfortunately, before this year ever started, there are already 13 students that had left us to either drop out or go to adult ed. And that's the hard part with graduation rate, is depending on the group of students you have sometimes, that was an automatic 15% hit that we took before the school year ever started. So right now we are projecting about 77% for graduation rate, which again is a 5% drop from where we were last year. But things that affect graduation rate every year that we really have no control on is this. We can start controlling it now, but the dropout, there is nothing Mr. Fleming could do about the 13 kids that dropped out before he ever became principal. Those students were gone. Now he has a plan and he is tracking students all the way from 9th grade, meeting with parents all the way starting in 9th grade when he sees students are at risk for dropping out. He's already meeting with them. He's already sitting down doing graduation plans with those students so that we can hopefully keep them and not have that dropout rate. The other thing we can't control is the number of kids in a certain cohort that are on the credential system. Those are students, again, that are not on diploma track. Some years we have 0, some years we have 4 like this year, other years you may have even more. Those students, even though we are getting them credentialed and we are actually getting them career ready, recognized by the state, unfortunately the state does not recognize that as a high school diploma. So therefore, unfortunately, that does count against our grad rate.
The credentialed students are which, are they
They are special education students, yes ma'am. And the 3 that are not on track to graduate this year, the thing about grad rate also is grad rate by the state is students that can graduate in 4 years. If they're 5 years graduating, the state doesn't recognize them. 2 out of those 3 students that are not on track, 2 of those are special education students that just need a little bit more time. And most likely those 2 are going to graduate next year in the 5th year. Now the state is starting something to where we will start getting a little bit of points on our report card for the 5th year. But unfortunately for the grad rate, we do not get points for them unless they do it in 4 years. And actually one of those 2 special education students used to be on a credential track, but they've actually moved out of a credential track and will hopefully have a high school diploma next year, which is even better. So, there's some things that we can get caught up on report cards and ratings that aren't best for kids. That isn't best for our report card, but that's what's best for our kids, and that's what we want to keep our eyes on, is what's best for our kids. College and career ready, if we stop today, we have 52% of our seniors that are college or career ready. Let me say that, or college or career ready. We have another, I think it's about 12 or 13 kids that by the time they graduate, they have the possibility of being a CTE completer, which would make them career ready. So if they do what they need to do and fulfill the requirements that they easily can fulfill, we could have almost 72% college and career ready for this graduation class, which is about a 9% increase from last year. So doing a great job, Mr. Fleming and his staff and his crew doing a great job. Number 1, identifying at-risk students early, starting in 9th grade. He's meeting with 9th graders, 10th graders, 11th graders. And one reason that's important is because starting this year, the state is also measuring us on how many of our ninth graders are on track for 10th grade. And then next year, they're gonna measure how many of our ninth and 10th graders are on track until we get to basically a full-blown graduation rate for each grade level every year. And that'll be within the next 3 years. So we're starting that process early so that we can identify those students and hopefully keep them on track. Any questions on grad rate or CCR? Also, with CCR, again, CTE plays a big role in that, and that's where we are adding that health science course. So just an update on there. We have completed the process of hiring a teacher. We, last week, I believe, we completed our first PO for about $120,000 for equipment that it takes to start that program. We've got a little bit left that we've got to spend there. We're beginning the upfit of room for the lab because it requires a classroom and a lab. That maintenance is in progress. They're getting bids and quotes on what they have to do there and working on that. This summer, we'll be getting that equipment set up and finalizing those needs. And beginning next year, fall of 24, we're looking to offer 2 blocks of Health Science 1. The teacher will be going through direct professional development, which is required of CTE teachers. She'll begin that in the fall. So we're looking for 2 blocks of Health Science 1 next fall, with the potential of having either 2 blocks of Health Science 2 in the spring, or at least a Health Science 1 in the spring and a Health Science 2. So even our current seniors next year could graduate as what's called a concentrator for health science. They can't get a completer because we don't have enough time to get them 3 courses in, but they could be a concentrator with at least CPR AED certification by the end of next year. And then the 3rd year, we actually could start producing some completers. We have some juniors that will be this rising juniors that they potentially, by the time they graduate, could be a health science completer. And then our goal, of course, in the next few years is to have it to where we have seniors graduating as a health science completer, but also with the CNA certification. Teaching vacancies with the recommendations that are going to be brought to you tonight for approval. All certified teaching vacancies will be filled for all of our schools.
Mr. Jones, I have
Yes,
a question. The health science classes,
Mhm.
starting next year,
Yes.
students that have already got their schedule set up for next
Mhm.
year, will they be able to get into those classes?
They should, because those classes are offered on this year's course catalog for them to register, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
So we'll have it on there. Mr. Creighton has a list already of the kids that I want to be in as well. So when we add it, we'll make sure that they're in there. So he has a list already of those. So I'm not sure when they did the IGPs or not, but he took their names. So we do have the students that want to participate.
I think when Miss Parsons was telling me today, I think she was saying she heard there's already about 20 that have shown interest, 15 or 20, I believe.
Yeah, or a little more than
Or
that.
maybe even a little more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We're looking, the recommendation cap for those classes are about 15 a class. So if it's even at 20, we're getting close to where almost filling up 2 classes. So yeah, if there are other students that are interested, they can make that request because there's still time for that. Yeah. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you, Mr. Gold.
Okay, we're gonna talk just a little bit tonight, coming to you for second reading and adoption of the general fund budget for next year. It's the exact same budget that we gave you at the last board meeting. We've not changed anything. I gave you another white copy of everything that we gave you the first go round. At 5 o'clock today, we got Senate projections. It came in on the email, and so some of that information is in the yellow copy that I've given you, but it's not significant enough that would warrant me to change anything in what we have currently presented. We're doing second reading and adoption in April. We're kind of a little bit ahead of the game because we brought you first reading in March versus waiting to do first reading in April. And there's a couple of reasons behind that. The legislators now say that before we can issue contracts to teachers, we have to publish our teacher salary schedule. So contracts have to go out this week. So we have to finalize some information. The Senate version of the teacher salary schedule was the exact same one as the House adopted, so we're not anticipating any changes with that. Also, Mr. Travaglio asked last time about where the difference is in the teacher salary schedule. That's the first page that you have of the yellow. This is showing how much of a raise that they give per degree, just for you to look at and kind of see, where those are. As you can see, there is a much higher concentration in the bachelor's, master's and below level. So since everything pretty much agrees, we're not gonna be making any changes. If something were to come up last minute that caused any type of major change, we would come back to you with an amended, to get your permission to make anything of a major change. Now, this is just a chart here that's showing pretty much what this, the yellow paper by sale shows. And you can clearly see based on this from the 0 to 30 years of experience, how that the majority of the raises are concentrated in masters and below. The raises for the masters plus 30 and the doctorate level, which at present we do not have any doctorate level teaching positions, are much smaller than, as we discussed last time. They're really trying to pad the lower end of that salary schedule to get teachers to come into the profession. The summary of the degrees that we have in, so you can kind of get an idea of the number of people. 32 of our teachers have bachelor's degrees, 5 have bachelor's plus 18, 34 have masters, 16 have masters plus 30, and at present we do not have any doctorate certified teachers at this time. Are there any questions about anything relating to this? Like I said, if something comes up that we're not expecting, based on the information that some of the Senate version is about $40,000 less than the House version, but the memo that is attached shows that there are several things that they did not include yet, that they didn't have the numbers for, which will make up for that difference.
I do have a question.
Sure.
Looking at all the different groups here,
Yes.
whether it's bachelor's, bachelor's plus, master's, master's plus, or doctorate,
Yes.
the chunk in the middle, that 14 to 24 years, they're the ones that are getting the least amount,
Yes.
and the newer 0 to 5 years, and the ones that are on the tail end are getting the big, they're the
Right.
groups that are getting the big chunks.
Yeah, the big chunks are on the top end and the lower degrees. The higher degrees are getting a lesser amount per year.
So, I guess my question is, what's the rationale for somebody that's got 30 years for getting a bigger chunk increase versus trying to retain somebody that's in that 14 to 20 year?
Excellent question. And
Career change.
You know,
yeah, that is, as I think you just said something, that's why we're seeing so much career change.
14 years, you're looking for a career change.
Yeah.
You don't get any money.
This is a state problem.
yeah.
And I understand, and I think we discussed this a little bit last time, I understand how that, they need to entice new people to come into education, but you also gotta keep your good qualified teachers. You gotta keep them in here for the long haul, and that's the next situation that's going to hit, that they're gonna have to address. One thing that, Ms. Foster could possibly discuss with y'all concerning the salary schedules, is if you wanted to do something a little more for the local supplement portion of the salary that we do, like maybe based on degrees, so that the higher degree you have, it bumps a little bit for that. That's something that you could consider. And if I'm certainly open to doing whatever, plugging it in and seeing if we have the funds to cover it. Yeah. I mean, I understand your point is very valid.
I mean, you got somebody that's put in 10, 12 years, has made a
Absolutely.
place in the district, and then all of a sudden they get hit with a brick wall that, hey, These newbies are getting a big bump and you're just gonna slide through here with the world.
Well, and one of the big things too is these people have paid to get these higher degrees, you know, that where there's not a lot of loan forgiveness for the higher, and they've done this because they want to excel, you know, in what they're doing. And so then you're not, and then also you've got the higher degrees, but yet your retirement is based on your 12 highest consecutive quarters. So when you're looking at, you're not getting these huge bumps like you were, you know, that affects them, you know, for the rest of their lives, as well. So yes, very valid.
And I do notice that the benefits have gone up about half of what the salaries are going up, and I'm assuming most of that is the insurance.
Okay. Insurance is projected to go up about 11%. I have to figure in a half a year because that takes effect in January. So that went up. Retirement is also looking at going up 1%, possibly a little bit higher, but right now they are trying to find the money to cover anything that would be above that. So one of your biggest expenses is your retirement, and people who have health insurance of a higher nature, which is full family.
9%, 10%, it's mandatory?
They contribute 9%, the employees do. We contribute 24.81%.
Okay.
So retirement is the biggest portion of the benefit that we pay.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. We had our Special Olympics on April the 12th, had a great turnout. You know, we do that with Tampico. They came over, it was a beautiful day, very windy, but they had the bouncy houses and the bubbles and the face painting, and the kids had a blast. We had a wonderful turnout and support from the community. This past weekend, we had our musical Annie, and we had the state superintendent come along with the Rickenbachs, and they loved it. They posted some great stuff on social media. I think Robin sent some pictures to the Post and Courier today, but Johnsonville Middle School did a phenomenal job putting this on. It's funny. It was a great event. JES also hosted a daddy-daughter dance on Friday night. We had a very busy weekend in Johnsonville, and she had a great turnout. I've heard nothing but positive things. The light faces lit up on little girls when they were dressed up coming in with their dads, and it's just priceless. And the boys had movies with mom, so they were able to sit and watch movies with their kids and eat popcorn and do all the fun things on that same night. Upcoming events, this does not include any of the athletic events because there are so many to wind out the year. That is posted on the website for the spring calendar. But we have an author visit, and our JHS choir concert is at 6 p.m. on April the 23rd. Then we have our Big D's fundraiser for our Beta Club so that they can go to nationals on April the 26th and 27th. So if you want to eat at Big D's and provide some tips to our betas, that would be awesome. The Fine Arts Gala is on May 13th. Academic Letterman Banquet at JHS on May 14th. Senior Class Night's May 15th. Then JES will kick off their celebration day on May 17th, and the awards programs will begin on May 20th, 21st. Eighth grade graduation's also on the 21st. Our spring athletic banquet will be May 22nd, and then graduation on May 24th. So we're winding up the school year, and it's been a fast one. It really has. And that's all we have for you guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ms. Prosser. And thank all of you guys for everything you do for Johnsonville. We really appreciate it. As you know, we are the pride of the PD, and I love saying it everywhere I go. Everywhere I go, I love saying it. So we'll move right into our 4 action agenda, and first on the list is the second reading and adoption of the 24-25 proposed general fund budget.
I make a motion that we approve the second reading and adoption of the 2024-25 proposed general fund budget.
I second.
Proper and second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, have the same right. We'll move right along to the first reading of the revision of policy JICDA-R, Code of Conduct.
And this is familiar to you because we just had it and then we decided that we were going to increase fighting to a level 3. So what you'll see in this policy is in red, very few changes because we just renewed this one. We added verbal altercation as level 2 in place of fighting. And harassment, intimidation, or bullying, we put minor there because there are some incidences where it could be a level 3. The third page, we added fighting to the level 3. And then on that fourth page, you'll see the bullets at the top. I just wanted to stress that the administrative hearing, if they're referred for an administrative hearing, the administrative hearing officer can do the following. They can extend the out-of-school suspension, they can assign home-based learning, assign alternative program, they can refer for additional intervention and support, and they can refer for an expulsion hearing. We put that in there because the expulsion hearing is not heard by the administrative hearing officer. That would come before, I think our policy for expulsion says before the school board. So, that's all the changes with that one.
Any questions? I'll entertain a motion for that first reading.
I make a motion that we approve, JICDA-R, Code of Conduct.
Second.
We got a motion and a second.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And we'll go right to our second reading of the revision of policy JICJ, which is the possession or use of electronic communication devices in school.
Have any questions about that one? That's from last time, okay.
We'll entertain a motion for that.
I'll make a motion that we approve the second reading for revision of policy JICJ.
I second.
All right, we have a motion properly second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposers have the same. Okay, so that handles our 4-action agenda. I'll entertain a motion to move us into executive session.
I make a motion to move into executive session.
Second. Sign these three real quick.
I'll entertain the motion to come out of executive session.
Make a motion that we exit executive session.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Coming out of executive session, we have two items for action. The first would be personnel recommendations and retiree recommendations for hire.
I make a motion that we accept the personnel and retiree recommendations for hire.
I second.
We got a motion properly second. All in favor, aye? And, resignations.
I make a motion to regretfully accept the resignations.
I second.
We got a motion that's properly accepted, to accept resignations. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, seeing as that being it, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
A second.